Chief Norman, how are the men and women doing?
Well, I will say this first. Pain is the first word to come to mind in regards to this. Is still pretty recent. I know that we've been leaning in, supporting one another, but there is still a lot of frustration, and definitely there is that pain in regards to the loss of a fellow member. This is like family to us, and I know that we were his second family, and so it is important to know that we're still working through a lot of different emotions, and definitely sorrow is another that comes to mind.
Did you know Officer Corder?
I know of him. I've seen him in different engagements across the city. I know that he's from District Number 2. In the last event I was at, District Number 2 he was at. So I had some dealings with him, upbeat, a smile on the face, but definitely got more to learn about who he was over these past couple of days, especially from his family, but also other members of the department.
What are some of the characteristics of Officer Corder that really stood out to you in the stories that you've heard over the last couple of days?
Caring comes to mind. Definitely an individual who was full of life. Know that there was that enthusiasm in regards to not only just being an officer, but being able to serve our community. So it was definitely nice to hear these particular type of comments coming from all different parts of the department, from people who have interaction with them. And getting a chance to talk with his family too, was able to learn more about just his love of the job, love to serve, love to be around others, and be an inspiration.
Yeah. You talk about his family. Were you at the hospital? Were you able to see him at his bedside?
Yes, I was. But again, it's more important that the family was there, and for my response to that was to not only give them their space, but also to be there as a resource if needed. But definitely I was able to go to the bedside, but also with the accompaniment of the family.
I know you see life and death in your career, but to be at the bedside of an officer who was shot in the line of duty, clinging to life, what was that like for you?
It's always hard, and definitely you have to understand that it's not easy for anyone. Part of the responsibility of leadership is to be present and to be a resource. And so, yes, it was definitely a challenging time for myself, like everybody else on the department. But I still don't want to even compare any of my, frustration or sorrow or pain to what the family was going through, which was really that important respect of, what they were going through, and making sure that, how we can support them while we're still dealing with processing our own emotions.
How can the community support the family at this time?
Well, I always say that, as we know, prayers and support in regards to understand that the families still have their grieving process. I know there's a lot of different resources out there in regards to dealing with our union, and there's other resources that the community can reach out to see how they want to support in any particular way that they can bring. But I always say, thanking an officer, understanding and appreciating the sacrifice the men and women of the Milwaukee Police Department do every day is just as much needed in regards to these challenging times.
How did you learn that 2 of your officers had been shot Thursday night?
It was a phone call.
Yeah. A phone call from?
From my staff.
Yeah. What was your initial reaction?
Shock, disbelief, frustration. Definitely is a range of emotions that particular time.
So you were out of town and you got a phone call about the shootings of your 2 officers. I believe you were in Texas at a conference or something like that?
Yes, I was at a work conference at the time.
So what is the process like then for you to try to get back? Because I would imagine that was a priority for you.
Absolutely. Immediately started looking at airlines and getting myself back as quickly as possible. So, received a call around like 11 o'clock that night, and was on a plane or getting myself to the airport at 3 o'clock in the morning. So no sleep, and definitely knowing the importance of getting back to be able to respond, to be there, to help direct, and to support.
When you hit the ground in Milwaukee, I'm assuming, was it Friday then when you hit the ground in Milwaukee? So then what did the next 48 hours look like for you?
Busy. There is that outreach to the district, to the hospital, making a repeated, outreach, different shifts for the, district, understanding that we still had another officer that was still in the hospital that was blessedly was able to be released the next day. So there was a lot of different just ping-ponging around the city, understanding that trying to be present as much as possible, but just as anybody, and again, this is a sing me a sad song, trying to work off a little bit of sleep and still be present to provide that leadership, but also understand that reaching out and reassuring the membership that we're putting all our efforts or resources and support for this challenging time.
In the early morning hours, I guess it would be Friday morning, so after the shooting when the news conference was held, and then your assistant chief, Nicole Waldner, had a pretty passionate statement. And I'm wondering, were you able to hear her statement about, let me just quote it to you. It says, "I could put an officer on every single corner and that would not eliminate the amount of guns in the hands of people who should not have them." Passionate words, had you heard that?
Yeah, I got the press conference, yes.
Yeah. What do you think about her comment? Do you agree with those comments?
Well, it paints the picture of the challenges that we have here. I know that there is a need and desire to have, officers everywhere, where we all know that that comes with a challenge beyond recruitment, retention, a cost. And we do understand that there is a lot of firearms in our community and in the wrong hands. And so there is and if you look at our, violent crime report, complex issue needs comprehensive, complex solutions. And so knowing those challenges out there, put in the proper context of that this is not something where an officer will be able to just make it all go away. This is all hands on deck, looking at what we can do with the community, with our public partners from government, and also from community partners, business community. Just basically is a complex problem that has complex solutions.
So do you agree that you could put an officer on every corner and there still would not be enough?
I will say that there is limitations to any resource, and that we need to understand that there needs to be multiple reasons or solutions being put forth in regards to deal with a complex problem.
When it comes to staffing, you referenced people wanting officers everywhere, covering everything. The union has said that the District 2 officers were working in District 3 because it was so busy in District 3. Do you have a staffing problem, in your opinion, or how big is that staffing problem?
So I always like to paint a proper picture of what this department looks like. There's multiple districts, but the patch says City of Milwaukee. Been on this particular job for over 29 years. I started my career just number 2. The squad I worked was 582. It was late power. There's been many times back almost 3 decades that I had to respond to other parts of the community, whether it was District 7, District 3. And too often I don't want anyone to kind of box themselves thinking that when someone asks for an officer, they don't look at what your number is in your squad. They want to see a uniform responding to their particular call for service. So this particular situation, and unfortunately what, the predicament for what happened, this is part of what we do as a department, that when a squad is available, we look for a squad to respond. And so when we talk about these particular type of nuances about what happened, this is older than me in regards to that. Dispatchers are required to make sure if there's a resource available, whether it's from District 4, District 6, 3, or 7, we respond.
It is a citywide response, as you mentioned, with the patch, but the department is short-staffed, right? I mean, you're looking for officers, 200 officers or so, according to the union. Do you feel like you're in a difficult situation with staffing?
So I'll say this. We are in challenging times post-2020. Narratives such as this conversation makes it hard in regards to understanding that we all have a responsibility to recruit and help reassure the public that this noble profession stays staffed. I say that we're not anything different than any other department, especially a major city chiefs or a major city department across the nation, in regards to our continued responsibility to recruit and retain. In this particular situation, we still have people who graduated from classes. I mean, I've seen your particular media have been there, and to see that we have a class in the house and we have a class that's coming up. And so there is proactive work to recruit, to train. If we could grow officers or pick them out of a tree, it's a very systematic and it's a process. And so as much as this particular lift may seem like it's nothing but a snap and voila, there is recruitment, testing. You have to go through a number of different processes in regards to backgrounds, and then at that you still got 6 months of training in the academy before you even get out into the streets. And so just trying to level set that conversation of yes, we are dealing with challenging times of staffing and recruitment and retention, but we're leaning into it. We have a supportive mayor in this effort. We have a supportive common council. We have fully funded in regards to what the type of classes are. It's just that the narrative is challenging. These conversations are challenging. When we are, spooking people to get in this profession, what do you think is going to be the result? When we talk about these things in a way that makes it almost seem like doom and gloom, what do you think is going to be the result? In regards to people seeing this and saying, do I want to get in this noble profession or choose something else? And so these conversations is a all hands on deck of how we can recruit, retain, because when you need a sworn officer, when you pick up that phone and make that call, there is an expectation that a sworn officer will respond.
When you talk about the noble profession, it is a noble profession in so many ways, but when it comes to, are you frustrated that there isn't maybe more that the city can offer when it comes to pay or benefits with being a Milwaukee police officer when you're competing with other departments around the state?
We should always be leaning into how we can recruit. I know that there was, lateral bonuses put out there for officers, which, is challenging because sometimes you're taking from Peter to pay Paul. We had that lateral program. The pay and the package is always something that's being negotiated between the union and the city. I'm not in that particular conversation, and I stay in my lane in that. But I always feel that people should be fairly compensated and fairly supported in regards to what we do for any particular walk of life profession, even as a noble, hardworking police officer.
Yeah. And do you feel like your officers are fairly compensated? Like, do you feel like it's a fair situation?
So again, I look at it from a standpoint, I stay in my lane in regards to how this particular situation, especially that there is negotiations going on right now, or there's arbitration going on in regards to this. And so I look at it from a standpoint, I do support officers being paid and supported and compensated in the way that they should be.
You talked about how you started your career at some point. Early on, you were with District 2, which is where the officers who were shot Thursday night also worked out of. Did that provide a special connection for you when you learned that they were District 2 officers, given your history?
There is a connection. I don't want to say special because I feel connected to all our men and women in the Milwaukee Police Department. Unfortunately, this is not the first one under my leadership that happened, and that was in District 4. I still feel a connection there because we're part of this badge, we're part of this uniform. It's still a difficult moment. It's very raw right now for many of us, even myself. But we need to make sure that we are leaning on each other, paying attention to emotions and behaviors, and understanding that we need to support each other and use positive resources, because we don't want things to go where people are self-medicating or doing things that would be harmful to ourselves. In regards to that, all life is precious, all officers are precious, and that we should be supporting one another, not ignoring signs or not helping each other out, especially when it comes to our wellness and mental health.
Officer Corder was the first African-American officer killed in the line of duty in the city of Milwaukee in 3 decades. As a black police officer yourself, a police chief, is there a unique impact that his death has on you and the city?
In regards to, when was the last African-American death, I was in class at that time. I was, class 196. So that was announced at that time. And there are ways that we can look at these particular type of situations that is very traumatic. and they talk about in regards to what do we do with these particular, situations. And, I was, as a new officer, definitely you have a lot of emotions, but I knew that he had pride in what he served, meaning Officer Tanner, and that there was a responsibility to uphold the values and the requirements of what it means to be a police officer. It's, again, I don't believe it's really a race thing, or it could be any type of difference of how do you process something like this, because a death is a death, especially in this particular line of work. But we do understand that, we need to support one another. I went out to the academy class this morning to talk to the recruits, to reassure them that we see them, to, encourage, but also to thank them, in this challenging times, that there are people still willing to step up and be kind of saying, tap me in, coach, I want to serve. And so there is that responsibility for us to look at these situations and which way would you take it? Do you sit there and, say, I'm not going to go outside my house? Or you look at it from a standpoint of saying, I'm going to do the best I can do with the training and the support of my fellow men and women, that we're going to do it together to serve our community the best way possible, in the way that we'll find all to be honorable and noble in what our public expects.
What was the reaction from the recruits when you talked to them about the shootings of the officers on Thursday? How did they respond to your speech today?
Well, it's hard to,
But I mean, are you concerned it could impact recruiting? Were they concerned about their own safety?
Well, they had no questions. They thanked me for being there. I will say that, definitely it's not an easy conversation. But we have to make sure that we're doing all that we can do to support and to provide resources. Our wellness team went out and talked with them. These are challenging times, and you're always concerned about how this is going to be received by the membership. But all we can do is be in control of ourselves, meaning me as a leader, that I show up, that I speak up, that I support, and that basically if there is a question, concern, or request, to be responsive.
So what does the next week or so look like for you as chief?
Busy. Knowing that there's going to be a lot of work going up leading up to when the funeral takes place. But I always say this, and I ask for patience from our public. This is the officer's family-driven process. This is not Milwaukee Police Department process. We are second to Officer Corder's family. How they want to process this, the way they want to deal with this, and how they want to deal with this. We are honored to be part of that process and to be allowed to help them during this process, but we give them due respect in regards to this is their immediate family. MPD is the second family, very important part of his life, but what they wish is how we will operate.
And do you get a sense as to what is their ultimate wish when it comes to saying goodbye to their loved one?
Do him honor and celebrate his life. I recall those words coming from his family.
That's emotional. Our I-team did some research and found that Milwaukee has had, sadly, as you know, 6 officers in the last 7 years have died in the line of duty here in the city. We're only behind Chicago, New York City, Detroit, Illinois State Police. So Milwaukee is tied with Los Angeles and Memphis with 6 law enforcement deaths in the line of duty. Why do you think that is? And does that number surprise you, that ranking?
Well, I will say this much. I haven't had time to look at what those numbers look like. I don't know what the comparables are, the situation is. We lose officers, unfortunately, to other things, especially suicide and other challenges, car accidents. So we are always looking to make sure our training's up to par, that we are being that type of wellness resource to our people, that we're being a resource, especially coming from leadership. If we have done anything to contribute to any of these particular unfortunate circumstances, that is something for us to, again, look at how do we lean into this and be better, and what can we do more. I will say under this administration, the work that we put in, not only from a wellness standpoint, investment in mental health, doing things that will help the mind and body, is second to none, but we always can do more. And it's important for us to make sure that if there is something that we could do more, we should do more. whether it's our bringing in our, comfort dogs, or having a robust wellness team that's not only licensed therapists, but also peer officers, working with a lot of our different partners. We have worked with the state. And so there's always things that we can do more to ensure that we are taking care of the mind, body, and soul in regards to our officers, and that we are putting forth trained and prepared officers into the community.
Based on what you've, based on your relationship with Officer Corder's family the last several days, it seems as if you've developed a special bond, obviously, because of the tragedy that happened. What stands out to you from what they've shared with you about the kind of man Officer Corder was, and how the city and the department can honor him?
So I'm not going to go too far in regards to talking about their wishes, because as much as my conversations with them have been thoughtful and deep, it has been only short. And so I know that at the time when I did the initial press conference, what they wanted me to pass on to the public, and it still stands. So thank you for the prayers and support. Thank you for being a supportive community. Speaking with the father, I know that he had passed on to me his pride of what his son represents, meaning that he was someone who's doing something for the community, who loved his job. And I can sense that there's a lot of pride, but also, again, pain of losing a loved one that they respected and looked at as a individual who was living his truth, or living what he wanted to do. So I'll leave it at that in regards to, I don't want to speculate or look at from anything else, but I know that Officer Corder was loved by his family, and that there was a huge respect of what he did, and that he walked his truth.